The history of the United States is a remarkable story of colonization, revolution, expansion, innovation, and resilience. Long before European settlers arrived, the land was home to diverse Native American cultures and civilizations. Indigenous peoples such as the Iroquois, Cherokee, Sioux, and many others had complex societies with rich traditions, governance systems, and trade networks. Their presence spanned thousands of years, with sophisticated cities like Cahokia in present-day Illinois thriving centuries before the arrival of Europeans. The first significant European contact came with the Spanish in the 16th century, who established settlements in the Southwest and Florida. However, it was the English who would lay the foundations of what would become the United States. In 1607, the English established Jamestown, Virginia, the first permanent English settlement in North America. Pilgrims seeking religious freedom followed in 1620, founding the Plymouth colony in present-day Massachusetts. Over the next century, 13 British colonies emerged along the Atlantic coast, each with its own distinct identity but unified by shared language, legal systems, and economic ties to Britain. Throughout the 17th and 18th centuries, these colonies grew rapidly. The colonists developed agricultural economies, primarily tobacco, cotton, and rice in the south, and trade and industry in the north. Despite being under British rule, many colonists began to see themselves as Americans with unique interests and rights. Tensions with the British Crown escalated due to issues like taxation without representation, trade restrictions, and lack of local autonomy. This growing dissatisfaction culminated in resistance movements, most notably the Boston Tea Party in 1773, which protested against British-imposed taxes. The conflict turned into a full-scale revolution in 1775 with the battles of Lexington and Concord. The colonies declared independence from Britain on July 4, 1776, with the adoption of the Declaration of Independence, authored primarily by Thomas Jefferson. The Revolutionary War lasted until 1783, ending with the Treaty of Paris, which recognized the United States as an independent nation. This victory was hard-fought, aided by strategic leadership from George Washington and support from foreign powers like France. After independence, the new nation faced the challenge of forming a functional government. The original Articles of Confederation proved too weak, prompting the drafting of the U.S. Constitution in 1787. This document established a federal government with checks and balances across three branches: executive, legislative, and judicial. Ratified in 1789, it became the supreme law of the land and remains a foundational element of American democracy. The Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments to the Constitution, guaranteed essential freedoms such as speech, religion, and due process. In the 19th century, the United States expanded westward under the belief in manifest destiny, the idea that Americans were destined to spread across the continent. The Louisiana Purchase in 1803 doubled the country's size, and subsequent acquisitions and conflicts, including the annexation of Texas and the Mexican-American War, added vast new territories. This expansion brought prosperity and opportunity but also conflict, particularly over the issue of slavery. Slavery had been part of American society since colonial times, especially in the South, where plantations depended on enslaved African labor. As the nation grew, debates intensified over whether new states should permit slavery. These tensions erupted into the Civil War in 1861 after 11 Southern states seceded from the Union to form the Confederacy. The war, the deadliest in American history, lasted 4 years and ended in 1865 with the Union's victory. President Abraham Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation in 1863 and the 13th Amendment, ratified in 1865, abolished slavery throughout the country. The post-war Reconstruction era aimed to rebuild the South and integrate formerly enslaved people into American society. Despite efforts, including the 14th and 15th Amendments granting citizenship and voting rights, racial discrimination and segregation soon re-emerged through Jim Crow laws. African Americans continued to face systemic oppression for decades, even as the nation entered a period of rapid industrialization. The late 19th and early 20th centuries saw the rise of the United States as an industrial and global power. Immigrants from Europe and Asia poured into cities, fueling factories and railroads. Technological innovations like the telephone, electricity, and the automobile transformed daily life. The U.S. began to assert itself internationally, fighting in the Spanish-American War in 1898 and acquiring overseas territories like Puerto Rico and the Philippines. In the 20th century, the United States played a crucial role in global affairs. It joined World War I in 1917, helping to tip the balance in favor of the Allies. The 1920s brought economic prosperity and cultural change, but the Great Depression of the 1930s caused widespread hardship. President Franklin D. Roosevelt's New Deal programs aimed to revive the economy and reform financial systems. World War II solidified America's status as a superpower. After the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941, the U.S. mobilized its vast industrial and military resources, contributing decisively to the Allied victory. The war ended in 1945, and the U.S. emerged as one of two global superpowers, alongside the Soviet Union. This led to the Cold War, a decades-long rivalry marked by nuclear arms competition, espionage, and proxy wars. Domestically, the post-war years were marked by economic growth, suburbanization, and the rise of a consumer society. However, the struggle for civil rights gained momentum as African Americans, led by figures like Martin Luther King Jr., demanded equality. Landmark legislation, including the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965, outlawed segregation and protected voting rights, though challenges remained. The 1960s and 1970s were also a time of cultural upheaval, anti-war protests against the Vietnam War, and movements for women's rights, environmental protection, and greater personal freedoms. The Watergate scandal in the 1970s led to President Richard Nixon's resignation and deepened public mistrust in government. In the late 20th and early 21st centuries, the U.S. saw major shifts due to technology, globalization, and demographic changes. The rise of the Internet revolutionized communication and commerce. Politically, the country remained divided on issues like immigration, healthcare, and the role of government. The terrorist attacks of September 11, 2001, marked a turning point, leading to wars in Afghanistan and Iraq and reshaping national security policies. Today, the United States is a diverse, dynamic nation that continues to evolve. It is home to over 330 million people from every corner of the globe. Its democratic institutions, though tested by political polarization and social challenges, remain a beacon for many. The American story is one of ongoing transformation, rooted in ideals of liberty and justice, shaped by struggle and sacrifice, and propelled by the enduring pursuit of a more perfect union.